Hello and welcome to the Breaking Down Communications Barriers. I'll be your operator for today's call, and I'll now turn the call over to Mark Hilborn. Mr. Hilborn, you may begin.
Hey, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Certainly a big thank you to everyone for taking the time to spend with us today. We are certainly extremely passionate about our RIS and the benefits it can provide to healthcare practitioners like yourselves. As you know, by registering through the link, the title of today's event is Extreme RIS, Breaking Down Communications Barriers, and we certainly have named this purposefully. It seems that every day the healthcare world is changing. Between the consolidation, the revenue reduction, and increased government regulations, there exists an even greater urgency for clinical information to be shared, viewed, and reported upon in a real-time manner between all the various stakeholders of the organization. Everyone knows that differentiation is a key factor. We understand that the radiology organizations need to remain competitive and successful. You got to differentiate yourselves. You must be better. We must be better. The bottom line is, as you see on the slide, medicine requires good information, accurate information, and timely information. 10 years ago, we designed our RIS with a very simple thought in mind. We wanted to offer all the tools one needs to run the business of radiology on a single database. Why, you might ask? Well, obviously the approach eliminates the needs for multiple vendors, and which leads to multiple interfaces. And it enables the product to be offered in a very practical way, in a practical sense, at a price point that is attainable for any imaging operation, regardless of size. In addition to being focused on a single database, we wanted to make sure that the referring physician community was at the forefront of our minds as we developed the systems. Referring physicians need to not only access orders, reports, and images, but they need to be able to schedule patients, request studies, manage any critical result communications that have taken place. In other words, we were driven to provide a solution that will enable any radiology operation to differentiate themselves in what we've been calling the path of least resistance when doing business with its local healthcare partners. That is what you get from an extreme RIS, one that takes its capabilities and yours further than any other RIS and helps achieve certainly tremendous results. Today, we're very pleased to be hearing from two organizations that are using their RIS as true differentiators. Reddington Fairview General Hospital and Westchester Medical Center are two very different facilities, yet they both share the same goals and needs when it comes to running their businesses. I obviously want to personally thank these organizations and the presenters today, not only for their time now, but perhaps even more so for all their time and expertise in working with us from the onset of selection to the implementation of the system inside their organizations today. First, we're going to hear from Reddington Fairview General Hospital. They are a community hospital located in sunny Skowhegan, Maine. That was for you, Pam. Reddington Fairview provides critical access to its local community that extends all the way to the Canadian border. Pam Elias, who is the Imaging Services Manager, along with Brandon Grove, the RIS PACS Administrator, they've been involved in the RIS project from the very beginning evaluations through the implementation and now certainly the day-to-day operation of the system. And following Pam and Brandon, you're going to hear about the RIS experience at Westchester Medical Center. Westchester is an academic medical center and a regional level 1 trauma center responsible for about 2.5 million people. They're comprised of 4 main facilities, and along with being designated as a regional disaster center by the state of New York, supporting over 28 hospitals, they're also pleased to be home to 6 distinguished centers of excellence. Mike Seiler, who's going to be presenting, is the Director of Radiology IT. He certainly brings a wealth of knowledge with the RIS to the project, as well as certainly through how you convert from a pre-existing RIS to a new RIS, as he's had to go through with us. So now, with the introductions complete, I'm happy to turn this over to Reddington Fairview Hospital and Pam and Brandon.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And there you go, guys.
Great. So there we go. Just waiting for the next slide button. Well, thanks again, Mark, and thank you for the opportunity to share our story with the RIS. As Mark said, we're a small community hospital in Maine, critical access, but we are fairly busy. We do about 45,000 exams a year with one great radiologist who keeps a nice, happy smile on his face all the time. We do offer all this diagnostic services, CT, ultrasound, general radiology, echo, and we do staff 7 with X-ray, and on-call with some of the other modalities. And we are ACR accredited in mammography and nuclear medicine. And I think we started this process in 2006 or 7, looking at the transition to the electronic world. At the time, we were using a homegrown kind of computer system that functioned very well for billing purposes only. We used it a little bit in the radiology department. It just kind of kept a running history of what patients had for exams, and that was about the extent of it. Everything else was completely paper-based. You may hear that as a common theme through our presentation here. But you know, anytime we wanted information, it was digging out logbooks and lots of labor-intensive research to get information. So 2007 through 2008, we kind of looked at many vendors, went through that process of evaluation and selection. And at the same time, the hospital had decided to really go full bore into the electronic world. They were evaluating EMRs, an emergency department EMR, a brand new transcription, dictation, report distribution system, policy and procedure software, a whole new phone system. And at the same time, we were expanding the facility. We opened up a brand new medical office building connected to the hospital for the physicians in the area. So on top of that, we were rewiring the existing hospital to connect to the brand new server room. We were outfitting the medical office building with all the computers and everything they need to get up and running. So it was a very busy couple of years for us, and still is. So through our process, you know, we looked at several vendors. We were looking for an integrated RIS-PACS solution. We wanted to make sure we had a really good workflow, be able to work within one system. We wanted something that was user-friendly, customizable, and offered a lot of functionality. Some of the reasons why we did it, obviously, it's just it's something you have to do now. The film world just can't keep up. We needed to be able to share information not only within our organization but within the state to some of the trauma centers and that kind of stuff. We also, at the same time, I did forget to put this in the previous slide, we were replacing most of our X-ray equipment in the department, so we really were busy for a couple of years doing all this. When we finally decided on Fuji as the vendor, it was around August of 2008. We were fully implemented as far as within radiology, sort of by the end of November. We implemented RIS 1 week and turned right around and did PACS the next week. That was a lot of sleepless nights for Pam and I. But we got through it, and we're pretty happy now. So a little introduction of who we are and where we've been, and now just I wanted to talk a little bit about you know, this need for communication. It's obviously a very important piece to healthcare. So I kind of broke it down into 4 different areas, the type of communication we look at. One is within radiology itself. Again, prior to the electronic world, it was all paper, you know, with staff needing to communicate with each other, whether it was ancillary staff such as unit coordinators or secretaries or that kind of stuff with the technologist or the technologist to the radiologist. It was always paper, and we were forever hearing the excuse that notes got lost, or, you know, that's why things didn't get communicated. Or somebody didn't sign it. So within the RIS, one of the neat features they had was the task communication, or to add at a task. It's a way to, and as you can see in this slide, these little bullhorn and exclamation points, these little symbols or icons that end up on the work list, the techs or the staff can type in notes into those things, and they're always available within the order on the work list. And so they can keep a running log. It timestamps everything with a user name and time, a running log of what they need to communicate. And as I said, it always stays with the exam, so there's no more excuses of stuff getting lost. So that's been a major improvement, real efficiency for the techs, because they know they just have to hover over that little icon and a bubble pops up and shows them the contents of that communication. So a pretty neat tool. It gets utilized a lot in our department. And within the RIS too, I don't have a picture of it. From a manager's perspective, we always used to have to run around and write notes on boards or leave notes on people's lockers or that kind of stuff. The RIS has a bulletin board feature where now we just go to one spot as managers and post what needs to be communicated to the staff, and they know their responsibility is to go in and check that. When they see that there's a new posting. So that's been a huge help for us, not having to chase people around, and again, not hearing excuses of I didn't know that. So, again, from a manager's perspective, gaining or getting information out of the system is really amazing with this product. Again, prior to this, we had to do a daily count. We'd sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and count how many exams we'd done the day before, and everything was just incredibly manual and time-intensive to get information. And now it's really pretty easy. If you can open up an Excel spreadsheet, do a database query, and you can pull just about any information you want out of the system. A couple of examples, they wanted to start tracking cancellations within the last 24 hours, or 24 hours before the scheduled exam. And so we set up a database query, and with a simple subtraction formula, we've got the information within about 10 minutes for a whole quarter. Some of the other stuff, I've had some technologists wanting to take their registries and CAT scan and other places, and part of that is eligibility requirements, and that's based on exam history, what you've done for exams. So I was able to build a query that pulled what exams that were done by these technologists and with the histories and all the information they needed to put their eligibility requirements together, and that didn't take any time at all. So it's pretty neat. The most recent example, just one more, our radiologist wanted to know how many positive breast biopsies we've had on patients under the age of 50 compared to how many mammograms we do on patients under the age of 50. And again, within 15 minutes, the query was built and the data was there. It's going from the paper world to this. It's been really neat for us.
And it's reproducible.
It's like I said in the slide here, there's virtually unlimited information at our fingertips. We didn't have to learn a whole new software program from another company. Again, it's just a simple database query through an Excel spreadsheet, and it's right there in front of your eyes. The next piece is our communication with the ER. ER discrepancy. Very important communication piece, and a difficult one to deal with. Again, prior to this, it was fully paper. Again, the lost paper excuse. We had people falling through the cracks. Internally, we had issues with it not getting done over the weekends. Anyways, once we implemented the RIS, we used the same task communication process like we did with the techs, only use it with the ER doc and the radiologist. Again, it's nice. It logs the time and data communication. It stays with the exam forever. We can do it 7 days a week. So it's been a big improvement over the paper process. And we do like it, but we are going to be changing it because if I can get the next slide to come up here, Fuji has built what I think is a pretty neat feature with critical results. And QA notes this little picture you see in the slide is actually from the radiologist's screen. This is what he sees. And this is the process we're going to be moving to, using these QA notes and critical results. And a couple reasons for that. The ER has asked for sort of a drop-down menu functionality with some common findings, like within normal limits or fracture or pneumonia, just to cut down on the amount of typing they have to do. And the QA note will add that functionality. And then when the radiologist responds to whether he agrees or disagrees with the reading, he'll use the critical results piece to communicate that. But then if he has a true critical result, he or she has a true critical result, all they have to do is hit the send button, and that will be tied to a pager or somebody's cell phone over in the ER, and they'll know that they have results they need to look at immediately. So that we're hoping to make our discrepancy process even better, utilizing that. And you know, this was a tough workflow to come up with, not because of the software, just because of all the things you have to think about with the ER discrepancy. And it's pretty amazing the tools that we have to utilize within this RIS that are just there, and you get to use them. I checked around with some local facilities, and they were looking at third-party vendors and to do ER discrepancy, and they were going to have recurring annual maintenance costs of $40,000 or $50,000 with that software, and we don't face that problem. It's just there in the RIS. You just have to use the tools. So we're pretty happy with that. The next thing Mark talked a little bit about in the introduction is how important it is to communicate with the physicians. Our physicians here, again, I had alluded to earlier, the hospital bought an EMR system, and so what we're going to be doing, and actually what we've been doing, is creating a link to the EMR, basically just a URL from our system into theirs. It's a link so that they can see not only the report, but they have a link right to the images. It launches PACS right on their desktop. They don't have to log into another system, so they can see those images. And the importance of having access to the report within their system, their EMR, is that the doctor, again, within one system, just gets to acknowledge that they saw the report, and that's logged in their system that the report was reviewed. So that's pretty neat. And once we get the ball rolling with ER discrepancy and critical results, I do plan on rolling that out to the physician staff, to the referring physician staff here at the hospital, even our hospitalists, using critical results, again, to just expedite getting that information to who needs it, and then having the ability to have it logged so we can have a record of it. One of the last pieces, and a very important piece, is communicating with our patients. One of the biggest things for our department revolves around mammo tracking and communicating with those patients. Again, the mammo tracking process in the past, 100% paper, huge 3-inch ring note binders full of paper, having to review every report by hand, just really labor intensive. And in the RIS, they have a mammo tracking component that is really neat by utilizing BI-RADS categories. The transcriptionist, at time of transcription, sets the category that's been dictated by the radiologist, and that sets the automatic mammo tracking in process. And from there, it's basically utilizing some of the tools you may see on this next slide. I screen capture some of the links that we have. And by clicking on that, you generate a report, and you can send out result letters to your patient, reminder letters to your patient for annual mammograms, 6-month follow-ups, consult letters to the surgeons for any biopsies that were recommended, and it keeps track of all that on an open cases list for you, so you never sort of lose anybody. It's all just right there for you. And instead of it taking hours and hours and hours to put together letters to send out to patients, it takes about 15 or 20 minutes. And comfort knowing that you're not going to lose anybody. They're on your open cases list. So that's a little bit of kind of who we are, where we've been, where we are now. We got a few more projects on the horizon, connecting with the emergency room EMR for electronic order entry, results notifications, so they know in their system when patients are done and images are ready to be viewed. We're going to be interfacing with the lab, hopefully in the near future, so we can get key lab information we need into our system to make the workflow better for the staff. And another one we just started was coding. Our coding department, is being challenged to compete with surrounding facilities who are allowing their coders to work from home, and they want to be able to offer the same thing. So we've worked with them, and using just the standard billing export that comes with the RIS, it essentially gives the coder access to everything they need to do their job, and it's as simple as putting an icon on their desktop and putting them in as a user. It's pretty neat, and there's more to come for us, I'm sure, but we're going to try to get these finished before we take on any more challenges. So again, that's it from Reddington. I want to thank Mark again for the opportunity to share our story, and I'm going to now hand it over to Mike Sealer from Westchester.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. This is Mark again. One thing I forgot, we've got several questions rolling in. We're not ignoring you. We're going to save them till after the second presentation, but we are making note of them, and we'll certainly ask them and give them to either Brandon or Mike to answer. So, Mike, I'm going to move the presentation on you.
Okay.
And I think you'll come up, and you're good to go.
Okay. This is Mike Seiler. I'm from Westchester Medical Center. That's in New York State. We're a 643-bed Level 1 trauma center. We're just a little bit north of New York City, and we're really the only advanced academic medical center in the region. We have a very wide coverage area. Just north of New York City, we collect patients from 7 counties to the north of us. We're their resource. When cases get too difficult, they'll send them down to us. We do about 180,000 procedures a year. We have 5 CTs, a couple of 1.5T MRIs, and 1 3T. We're actually expanding at this point. We're growing, so we'll be having more CTs and a couple more MRIs coming in probably in the next couple of years. We're a full-service diagnostic, nuclear medicine, ultrasound, mammography, vascular, neurointerventional. We just opened up our new Advanced Women's Imaging Center here on site, which is just a real beautiful place. And again, we're growing. Our RIS, we've had one for quite a while. We started back in 1995. With the idea that we wanted to move everything from paper over to a more digital platform. We want to use scheduling, diagnostic reporting, management reporting, our charge management. All of this was paper before. Our report management, routing, just like Reddington, we count every procedure every single day to get our statistics in, and obviously that's just inefficient. Every other system that we have in the radiology department revolves around our RIS. That's the center of all information. We started up in 1995. We actually started the project in 1990, but it took 5 years to implement. And one of the reasons was our staff. We needed to bring in staff to enter in orders and 24-hour coverage and things like that. And that's one thing that I think we did correctly here was we allocated resources to support our systems. So our RIS, PACS, Voice Rec have dedicated staff that take care of the product and get it to the way we need it to be. Whenever we look at anything, we look at people first, the processes that are in place, and then we fit the technology to fit the need. Many institutions go for the technology first. We need to have this. Let's put this in. But they ignore the people and the processes, and many times these things are very difficult to get off the ground because of those two. Of course, everyone's reluctant to change. people don't like to go from what they're used to something new. So in '96, we had Quadris, which was a legacy system of Cerner. Mid-1999, we upgraded, and then in 2002, our Cerner bought out Quadris from ADAC, and we had to go ahead and they sunset it in 2009. So that's when we decided we needed to go to a new RIS, because we liked what we had. It was working for us, but we needed something new. There's a couple of slides here that show, why you would ever even bother with a RIS. This slide shows our dictation to transcription time. We do a lot of reports from our RIS, and one thing, we had a contract with our outside transcription service to tell us that we were going to be 95% better turnaround within 12 hours of reports, and we get the information from them, and it looks great. Then we went ahead and built an interface in between the two and pulled the actual time that we were getting. It turned out they were just feeding us false information, and we went down to 48%, 40%. So now we really know what we're getting, and then we're able to work with them to get us to where we needed and get the real information back. Our radiologists turn around the same type of thing. Now we know exactly what they're doing. We know that we have a radiologist on the left-hand side that is having his reports verified within 5 hours, and on the right, someone who was taking 51 hours before they'd sign their report. So we were able to modify that, work with it, and get it better. And that's why you need a RIS. Our voice recognition system, it's used obviously by the radiologist. It replaces the need for transcriptionists. When we brought that in, at that time we didn't have any money to pay for the transcription company, so we needed to cut ties and go strictly with self-edit radiologists. And it absolutely has a huge impact on a radiologist's turnaround time. From 16 hours in that previous slide went down to 1.6 hours. All using the RIS system. The RIS system, the voice recognition system, is just an ancillary system for the RIS, just to get the reports in. It doesn't really, we hold, I think, 40 days worth of reports. It's just an in and out system. Our PAC system, it does all of our image storage and distribution of the images throughout the medical center and beyond. It converted, obviously, our film library to the digital film library. Allows physicians to access images and reports from anywhere in the world. And we've had a lot of consults from Chicago, Texas, where we do consult quite a bit out there, and we're able to share information back and forth as needed. And obviously it reduces the radiology turnaround because the images are right there available for the radiologist to read. We started with actually Synapse. Synapse was selected back in June 2000, and we moved over to Synapse back then. It took about 6 months before we were 85% filmless. Got rid of as much film as possible. We went on from there. There's all kinds of information here, but what it comes down to is we did a lot of upgrades and a lot of work with Fuji throughout all of that time. We decided that last year that it was time that we replace our RIS, and we had options. We've looked at every single vendor that was out there to see who would really fit for our system. One thing about the PAC system, it's very easy to use. It's used for image storage. We have 400 installs campus-wide, over 1,500 users. It's tough to maintain. We actually have a lot of work to keep the people in and out. And, of course, 400 installs is rather significant. We also use Citrix to distribute worldwide. Again, when we decided to implement, we, again, took out our people, processes, and technology to see what's going to fit, what we need, and how we're going to move forward. Our goals with the new RIS system, we had a selection committee set up. We went with John Mustakakis, who's our CIO, along with a team of radiologists, technologists, some managers, orthopedics was invited, neuro surgery was invited, people who use the system. We had a selection committee set up. It was important that we had an integrated system, one place where the radiologists can look at and get all the information from all the different systems. Technologists, the same view, same type of access where they could get to anything they want from one system. And the same with our end user referring physicians, so that they could get in and they could see what they use. And it was critical that it was easy to use. We couldn't have our training program that we had. Our staff is not that robust. We do have people. It's a total of 3 people that are technologists, another 3 used to be file room folks who run the systems. And we don't have a whole lot of time to train, so we need to have it as easy to use as possible so that people can get in, they can get their information and get out. Other systems that we have on site here, and we speak from experience, the more difficult it is to use, the less it's used, and people tend not to get the information they need in a timely fashion. So we went for the integrated RIS PAC solution. It was important that we merged these systems into one. We had our RIS and our PACs in June 2010, which is we're new to the RIS world with Synapse. We just came on. 2010 is when we went live. We have an integrated solution now, and the integration is on a beautiful front end that we use in order for everyone to be integrated. I'll explain later. In the future, we want to see the back end as much integrated as it can. Of course, you have different databases and there's communications back and forth, and the front end user doesn't see all of that. So it is integrated and it's a good product. The end maintenance of 2 databases obviously costs time and money to get through. So we want to see one package at the end as we go further. Our old structure, we had our hospital information system, which is Siemens. We had our voice recognition, which was PowerScribe, our radiology information system, picture archive communication system, our PACS. We went ahead and we have our scheduling, which in our old RIS system was, I don't want to say absent, but it was horrible, and nobody really used it, and so it was just something that we just needed to replace completely. What we had was multiple homegrown scheduling systems between Microsoft Outlook and billing system for our advanced imaging center. Everybody had their own, so we needed to bring it all under one umbrella and make it a true integrated system. So we went ahead and took our scheduling, dropped it into our RIS, and now we have everything integrated. When we talk about integration and end-user integration, we really wanted to see the front-end user's experience. The back end, can be very complicated and tough to understand and really get a grip of. But the radiologist and the actual end users, your technologists, your clerks, your referring physicians, they want it up front in front of them. They want all of the information. So up in pink there, you see the Synapse PACs. We use our radiologists use our PACs to read. That's where their workflow is created, and that's their front end. As they're looking at the Synapse PACs, the images obviously come from the PACs. All the patient information is a URL call right to the radiology information system. So they're pulling the information right from the RIS, whereas before we had this integrated solution. It was dependent upon the interfaces going back and forth between the RIS and the picture archive communication system that they would get their information. And it was a limited set because it would have to go through the interface, and not everything does go through the interface. So now they have access to absolutely anything they want in the RIS system right from their desktop, and they don't have to switch from one system to the next. It's all integrated on the front GUI screen. And of course, the PACS has an integration with PowerScribe, so The radiologist sits down, logs into PACS, and does everything they need to do and gets more information than they ever had before. Our technologist and clerical end-user integration, they go in through our RIS system. That's the system that was designed for them, and it works very well. They have all the information in the RIS. They have their orders, their results, their ADTs from the hospital system. But what was nice about this is now from the RIS, they're able to click on a link that pulls up the images right from the RIS. So now they used to have two systems that they had to run simultaneously, back and forth, back and forth. Now it's just one. They click it, it's there, and it's over with. Very efficient. Another part of our need as we went further was we needed to assimilate our system into our IS infrastructure. What we had previously was we had our PAC system, our RIS system, were separate servers outside of the main IS infrastructure. We wanted to try to bring it in to allow them to manage the hardware and to make it much more robust and fault tolerant and disaster recovery, all of these things. So we went with the virtual world, which is really a fantastic setup, and this really set at the time we were doing our selection Fuji apart from where we were going, because no one else wanted to do virtualization. Everyone talked about it, but nobody had it done, offered it as a final product. If you're familiar with virtualization, basically you have many different applications on one server. You can also have, and I'll just pop through these quickly because we have, there's load balancing. If you have one server that's not busy and the other ones are busy, it'll go ahead and spread the applications across the entire group. It gives you good throughput and good quality. If you do have a server that does crash, it will take all those applications, bring them over to the live servers that are there, and get them up and running so your application is running. You're not completely dependent on one piece of hardware or one system. You have a lot to choose from, and there's a lot of fault tolerance there. We use our SAN. We have a robust SAN here, and they go ahead and we use that for our primary storage. Then as the primary fills up, it works off onto the Centera, which is online. It's an online storage, and it takes about 3 to 4 seconds here to receive some images back if it is on the Centera. It's quite better than what we had. We had a DVD jukebox before, and we get all the information back that way. Our disaster recovery, now with the virtualization, and now that we got ourselves into our IS infrastructure, we can take our disaster recovery plan forward. We went ahead and joined up with it. And basically, if we were to drop the building here today, we have a site that's a little further south towards the city in Yonkers that just picks up and takes on where we left off. Next thing we need that's critical, and Reddington is certainly doing this also with their reporting. The database is completely available to us. We run, I think we started with 150 reports scheduled that we go through. We use Excel. We use Crystal Reports also. We schedule using Crystal Reports to go ahead and send reports out by mail, print, whatever. We can post it to the website for every little piece of the puzzle, every little nook and cranny where things fall into the cracks, all the things that people forgot about, didn't follow up on. We have reports for all those things. We monitor what the techs do every day. We have basically a report card that goes out 3 times a day for all the schedulers, what they did, the technologists, our turnarounds, the radiologists, what their productivity is, the residents, everything. We measure it all. That's important to us. We had that with our own RIS. We needed it with the new RIS. And they came through, and we can do that. Crystal Reports is a really nice, powerful tool, but it's not necessary. The Excel piece where you can just grab the information gets all the information you need, and you have access to everything at all. One thing in our old RIS we didn't have was critical results. So that little guy there counting the beans, he doesn't look like me, but you could say he is me, because that's how we would get the information out every month to identify what we had. We'd actually have to count the beans. The new RIS captures and reports on it. I don't have to do anything, but in fact, I don't have to do anything because Crystal Reports just hands it out when it's time. I don't have to go near it at all. It's a much better efficiency, and that's really what's important to us. In the near future, we want to get to that completely integrated risk pack solution. That would be great. So you have one database in the back end that's collecting everything. We do and we will be enabling our referring physicians to electronically schedule and order patients. We're just really still green here. I guess we started in June 2010 with our go live, and you know, we're only 3 months out. So we're going to be moving forward with these types of things going forward. Our referring physicians, we want to. This will probably get done very quickly. We want to send out email notifications when the patient results are ready, so that they can click on a link, log into the RIS, see the report. Simply, it just saves them a lot of time, because currently what, of course, they have to do, and most people have to do, is log in, check. If it's not there, okay, check later. We want to try to avoid that. And that's really where we are and where we've been. So I guess it's time for questions.
Thank you very much, Mike. And nice picture of yourself there. We've had several questions come in. And one I actually like because it puts a different twist on things. You both, I think, have mentioned how you're, from the EMR, you can integrate and take a look at reports and launch images. One person has asked, how about reverse that? Any thoughts about from the RIS and PACS to integrate EMR results inside the RIS and PACS? But it's open to both you, Brandon, as well as Mike, since you're doing EMR on both sites.
As far as Reddington's concerned, we haven't discussed that. I have a pretty good sense that our radiologist, being one guy reading 45,000 exams a year, just probably wouldn't be interested in the extra time to read through information. We do our best to provide him with all the information he needs right up front. So at least at our site, we haven't discussed it as a possibility. So.
And at Westchester, we have a significant need for information that, you know, currently with the systems that we've put in place, we've reduced the amount of time for our doc staff to go out and get lab results or, you know, fish around in other systems. So any advantage to collecting information right from the one front end is absolutely critical on our end. So we haven't. We're just starting the electronic medical record end. That's probably going to kick off next year. So that's going to be absolutely one of the things that we want, because we need to get that information in front of the radiologist.
Hey, Mike, we got a question about, you spent a nice slide on all the reports and CRIS reports. We got a question, are any canned CRIS reports contained in Synapse, which obviously I know the answer to that, but I'll let you tell the answer. But if you could elaborate how pretty much straightforward it is for you to do your reporting, that might be helpful to whoever asked this question.
Sure. In fact, CRIS reports, I'm familiar with it. I've been writing reports since, 1995. I have a couple people in the office that are not familiar with it who now are writing reports. They find it much easier writing reports now than they did on the previous system we had. The tables are straightforward. The Fuji provided us with the hierarchy and the database connections, so we understand what the data is, where it is, and how to pull it out. It really was just not that difficult, and I wrote 150 reports to mimic what we had and to add other things on, like scheduler activity and things like this. And once you get the main report down, you're pulling really information from the same 4 or 5 tables. So it's efficient and it works well. And what's nice about Crystal is you can schedule it and send it out, email, print, whatever you want to do. So you never have to look at it and you don't have to do it on your own. It just does it itself.
Great, thanks. Actually, another one just came in for you, Mike, for Westchester. Wanted to know, both mentioned how important it is to provide referring physician access. Are people more interested in reports or images? What's your maybe anecdotal feel for that?
I would, if you asked me this before I really researched it, I would tell you that it would be the images. But it turns out that most of the referrings, besides the orthopods, want the reports first. They want to see it, what the report says. They're not interested in looking at the images. So having the reports first and then being able to get the images, there's a larger group out there that want to see it that way.
Gotcha. Brandon,
yeah.
one for you. Especially since you went from paper to an automatic system or automated system, how about that? What were some of the hard internal workflows that maybe you had to change?
I think the hardest one, it was probably ER discrepancy. Again, people were kind of used to the paper process, but as I explained, it wasn't very efficient. And when we went to the electronic world, the ER side kind of gave us some very big challenges. But I think we've met them fairly well, and I think when we implement the new QA results and critical results process, it's gonna satisfy those wants even more. So that was probably the hardest internal workflow process to get changed. A lot of people to get involved and agree upon workflow, but as I said, it was a huge improvement over the paper. So.
Okay. One more for you. I believe this is for Reddington. Since you went from paper, are any big operational costs that were immediately obvious for you?
I'll let Pam answer that one, Mark. She's the boss.
Yeah, right. Well, we were talking about this earlier, and people would like to think, well, you can decrease FTEs and that sort of thing, go into a more electronic world. And that's not anything that we did here, but what we did do is we reallocated some of the workload, and we found areas that we could make improvements upon by shifting more responsibilities to the people up at the front desk that do the registration and the scheduling and that sort of thing. They're even now looking at pre-certification process. If an exam requires a pre-certification based on what we have in our information as far as the patient's insurance, then they're on the phone to the doctor's office wanting to know if they have done the pre-certification yet, and if they do, then they indicate that in the RIS, and it just helps with efficiency so that the day the patient shows up, we've got that pre-certification, and then we're able to bill. And as we all know, if we do a procedure without a pre-certification, then we are not allowed to bill, and causes more problems. But we've really expanded some of the things that we do, and again, we're shifting some workload and responsibilities. So, other than the film and all the folders and that sort of thing, obviously that expense has gone away, but some of it obviously is picked up with the cost associated with maintaining a system like this. But again, the efficiencies we've found in the system have been wonderful. And I think initially, to derive at numbers for monthly statistics and stuff, it was just incredible. And it's like, wow, it's that fast. And trying to believe it and say we don't have to keep paper and that sort of thing was kind of funny at first. And the reproducibility of being able to do that is really nice. So that's where we're at.
Well, Fantastic. That's the last of the questions I have. Mike, sorry I did not get a chance to ask you another one. Is there anything else you want to say, or I believe we may be done?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add other than to piggyback on that last question. I'll tell you, the paper here, and we've had electronic systems for years, and the paper here was just absolutely out of control. There was actually a sea of paper that our schedulers were in, and we brought this in. We used that task icon, the task list within the RIS, and that just replaced all the need for paper all over the place. And I'm still finding pockets of people who just can't let go of it. But a little bit of work with them, we get them to just go electronic, and it's made a much more efficient system where information is not missing or any of that.
What we find at Reddington is one of the ideals in the schedule is if a patient's scheduled for 2 exams in one day, it automatically adds a plus to that patient, so you know that they're going to have another exam within your system. And prior to the RIS, we had 5 different schedule books. So if an office called and wanted to schedule, say, a bone scan and an abdomen pelvis CAT scan on the same patient for the same day, you had to have 2 books in front of you. And if someone was using the other book, I mean, it was just a hassle. But from literally any workstation, 5 people can be scheduling, a procedure for CAT scan at the same time. It's just amazing, the efficiencies there.
Well, you guys have been wonderful. I mean, this is sincere personal thanks for your time, and certainly for everybody else on the line. It's 3 o'clock on the dot. I'd like to keep to the schedule, but thank you very much, everybody that listened in and participated. And Mike, Brandon, Pam, thank you guys.
Thanks, Mark. Take care.
Bye-bye.